Welcome to my lecture. Today we are talking about CPI tests and tips and tricks how to decrease CPI. This is a second in a series of my lectures where I discuss different stages of hyper-casual loop. So hopefully the next one will be about retention rates, but today we focus on CPI. Before we start, I'd like to give you a brief introduction, uh, only just a few words about our approach at Ducky to CPI testing and how we changed that to increase our results. So first of all, when we created Ducky, we wanted to have a small team of highly qualified people, and so our publishing managers have expertise in different skills like development expertise, marketing expertise, product management expertise, analytics expertise, and monetization expertise. And so we wanted to have a publishing manager responsible for uh, all tasks when communicating with the developer, and we wanted to for a publisher manager to be able to resolve all kind of issues by just by himself. And so in this case, we wanted to publisher manager to drive CPI decreasals, to make a publisher manager responsible for creating ideas how to decrease CPI and passing them to creative management team and to game developers. And so this approach worked. We had our successful cases. We had our publishing managers decrease CPI for different projects, but it wasn't enough for us. It wasn't enough, and we've decided to change this recently. So instead, we've created a special process where every time we want to generate ideas and brainstorm ideas how to decrease CPI, we gather the team, we gather all publishing managers, our UA managers, creative managers, and we also have a special dedicated person, creative producer, who is also responsible for decreasing CPI. So we gather this team and we brainstorm ideas, and after that we pass them to publishing manager responsible for communication, and so he is then responsible for passing them to game developer or communicating with creative manager in order to make them. So this approach proved to be very successful. So far, we have roughly 21 attempts where we tried to decrease CPI, and 12 of them were successes. And by successes, I mean every case where we were able to decrease CPI to sufficient benchmark level, not just any type of decrease, but the decrease we deemed necessary, deemed okay for the project to continue. And so it's roughly 57% success chance, which is astonishingly high amount of success. So today I'm going to share you 6 cases out of this recent 12 cases. And we're going to discuss the most common strategies and tricks how to decrease CPI. So first of all, here is one of the first cases. Uh, let's start with just watching two different CPI videos and the difference between them. As you can see, they are quite similar, except for the second video has a sequence of door breaching uh, at first. And the idea here, which works really good for some projects, is that you can combine different gameplays, and some gameplays might be more appealing for in terms of CPI. In our case, we knew that door breaching videos work, because we had a similar project, a safe breaker project, which had good CPI numbers. So we knew that breaching doors, safes, and so on is performing well in terms of CPI. So we had a project in mind about combining these gameplays, and so it proved to be successful. So we had a good CPI numbers right at the start. It's just that we've tested different sequences to understand how exactly this additional gameplay worked. So we've tested a cut version, and it showed us that the decrease was over 58%, which is really, really good. And so, how can you use that in your games? For example, some games like runner games might have a finishing sequence, which sometimes can perform better in terms of CPI. And if you have experience, if you have other projects where you know that certain gameplays work for CPI, you might want to try and combine them with your next game, or you might consult with a publisher and try and understand which gameplays are in trends now and which might get better CPI results. And usually it is gameplays like simulation, um, uh, especially simulation, to be honest. Some gameplays like runner games might perform better, especially the runner games about female characters. They are in trends now. So you might want to try and combine them with a different gameplay, which might give you better results for retention. And this could work. All right, on to the next one. So let's start with the videos. This case is one of my favorite cases. Um, it's it's an astonishing amount of an astonishing percentage of decreasal from the first version to fourth version. So we had $2 point 17 cents at the first one, and we managed to drop it to 0.32 cents. And we've did it mostly by working on colors and animations, which is a common strategy. Uh, Most of you are usually trying different color schemes and different angles of camera, different animations, and sometimes tune gameplay. The point here is not, there's no ultimate strategy and ultimate solution to how to decrease CPI with colors. Every color, every game is unique, and every color you might use might have a different impact for your game. So there are, of course, common guidelines, and there are, of course, common strategies, but it's a case by case situation. The point here is that the effect could be really drastic in our case, and especially the more game is about visual appearance, and the more colors, animations will have impact on it. So in our case, the game was about pole dancing, and it makes sense to try and polish animations, colors, and overall feeling from the video. And so we did. There were 4 iterations here, and 3 out of 4 draw were successful every time we dropped CPI by a certain amount. It was mostly working with colors, and I'm not able to show you all 4 iterations here, but we have a channel in Telegram, HC Reviews channel, which you might want to visit. We share cases like this there from time to time, and we have this case in the channel where we describe all 4 stages, so you can watch it step by step and understand how colors affected and what we did on every step. Feel free to visit it anytime. It's you can access it easily. And so, for common strategies and guidelines here, there's a diagram. Uh, there are a lot of materials about this you can search on the internet. One of my favorite is a gender distribution color scheme, which shows the most and the least favorite colors for men and women. And you might have keep this diagram in mind when you are making a game, but it works better. It is more. It is more. It has more practical meaning when you are making CPI videos, because if you, for example, if your game has a broad male audience and you lack females, but the game is made for all genders, you might want to try and have videos with more purple coloring in it. And in some cases, it can help you to bring more female audience, especially if we are talking about Facebook, which has specific learning algorithms. They are quite sensitive to color distribution of your video, and if you have more purple in your video, there is a higher chance that your video gets more distribution among female audience. So the other one would be age preference for color. There's also a diagram about combining colors, which is also quite useful. Don't hesitate to use these when you are working on a game and when you are working on CPI prototypes. They are very useful and they can have huge impact on the overall result. Um, just remember, there's no common strategy and ultimate solution for your videos in terms of colors. Each game is unique, and each game might have a different set of colors that work for this game. So don't use blue every time. It is indeed the most popular color and it usually performs the best. But just using blue in all the games and videos is not the best strategy. Okay, on to the next one. Let's start with the videos. Okay, so this is an interesting case. There's an ongoing trend on realistic graphics, and we've tried with one of our games. We've tried to change the visual. We've tried to add a AAA realistic graphics. That's how we call it, AAA. Um, so we tried to make a really beautiful, realistic graphics on our like Unity prototype. We didn't implement this in the game because it won't work for mobile devices. The game was already performing well, but changing graphics would have unpredictable results. So we decided to try and make just videos with this improved graphics, and it proved to be more successful in general. We had an average 35% decrease in the whole CPI video pack comparing to what we normally use. So you can see the actual graphic and the actual example of a CPI video on the left and the one on the right that we did. The downside was, which we discovered, is that when we use these different videos, most, if not all, of the campaigns that were running these triple A graphic ads, they perform worse in terms of retention by roughly 50%, which was a negative effect, and it made the CPI videos not worse using them because the overall LTV was worse than we had with normal videos. So it is important to understand that this is exactly an example of a misleading video, and we proved that it could be used for hyper casual games, but the downside effect might be the same as we have with mid-core games where we have misleading ads, where we have a huge retention drop. And so in our cases, even despite that we've made a similar video basically about the same game, it's just a different video. We had a huge drop in retention because the audience was expecting to see a beautiful graphic and they were attracted by the beautiful graphic, but they didn't see it in the game. So we had our score drop and people leave the game because of that. Uh, there is, however, another case that I'm not able to share with you right now because the game is on an early stage. It's too early to share it right now. But I promise we'll publish a full story on Hyper Casual Reviews Telegram chat. So in this case, we had a 0.38 CPI result with this game, and we've decided to redo it in a realistic setting. Uh, and we had a huge drop over 61% in terms of CPI. We had a CPI 0.15 with the first iteration. And so we decided to redo the game in a realistic setting so that the graphics would match the videos, and it proved to be successful. So we haven't had the drop in retention rate like we had in Mud Racing Project. Hopefully, we'll see the game soon in top charts. Let's not skip too much ahead, but this is a really interesting case. So you might want to use try realistic graphic while it's a trend. You might want to see if your uh, game can be changed to realistic graphic. Especially, you might consider this on early stages of your game when it's still possible to change. This is actually a good trick. However, it's not 100% guaranteed as with other cases. We also had a few cases where realistic graphic didn't help and actually it lowered the result. It made the result worse. But overall, it's a good trick. You might want to try it. All right, next one. Um, it's also quite simple. Work with the camera. And the reason why I also share this one, this obvious case, is that sometimes camera can make a really huge difference, and it is all connected with the emotions that you get from the video, and in some cases, having a camera might change the emotions you get from the game. Let's just see these two videos and what we did here. As you can see, the biggest difference here is the camera that we had on the in the on the fifth roughly fifth second of the video. So we changed the view. In the first one, the camera kept at the back of the truck, and on the second one, we changed the camera to a dynamic version where we showed uh, that the truck from the front. And the idea here was to show how difficult it is for a truck to pass through the buildings. And this helped to create tension. This helped to understand the idea of the game. The idea is that you have to carefully drive through buildings. And so in our case, the camera alone helped to decrease result by roughly 48%, which is also a really good number considering that we only changed camera in this case. So you might want to consider this for your prototypes, especially since camera is quite easy to change and iterate. However, note that it is only interesting when you are helping to create different emotions with the camera. So if you have, for example, a runner game where you have a camera at the back and you swap it to like 35% right or left, and this won't change much for your game. This won't change the overall feeling you get from the game. So you might try this if you have a different feeling. So it's not, otherwise it just won't work that much as in our case. All right, next one. Let's watch first. So the idea here is that we've decided to create more emotional feedback from the video. So we wanted to have like a high action game where we have ninjas slicing with swords, and we have a lot of action. We have like combo movies and so on and so on. And the first version wasn't just, we didn't get the feeling of the game. We didn't get the feeling of action there. So we decided to change two things. The first one, we've decided to make ninjas more like ninjas, and make a feeling that you are actually in a ninja game, in a ninja, you are slicing ninjas, so you get emotions from fighting them instead of some abstract monsters that you're not even understand what they are. So they do look like ninjas on the first version, but it's clearly not enough. It's clearly not the feeling we wanted to have. And on the second version, we also changed the way we fight with the sword. So we've added the slicing mechanic, which added a lot of dynamic, a lot of action in the video. So it made this look like a fierce battle. And with the second video, we had a huge change of the emotions we get from watching it. And so the result was over 69% decrease in CPI, which is also a really huge drop with just these two things. So you might want to try, especially if we are talking about action games, you might want to try and make your CPI video more packed with action, and actually try and get the emotions, get the emotions from the video. Uh, Try and make it more, you know, get the feeling that you are actually fighting, that you are actually in the action video, in the action movie. So don't hesitate to try and make the combat more fierce. It might work for your game, and especially if it is a first person view shooter or a fighting game. All right, the last one for today. This one, yeah, let's just watch first. Sorry. Yeah, so the difference here is just the ending sequence. In the second one, we've decided to create an unexpected ending where we have a tree fell on us, versus the first one where we have a tree just fell on the ground. And so this had a huge impact. This unexpected ending had a huge impact, or over 44% decrease in CPI with just this one. The idea here is that creating something unexpected, like some interesting situation, interesting scenario for your video, might have a different, might change the feeling of what you have. So you might want to think about your video as a movie and have an interesting scenario added to this, something catchy, something that will make you remember this video, will make you say whoa at the end of the video. Like in our case, this was clearly unexpected, and this clearly changed the overall feeling for players. And so this is an interesting one. We just advise you against using failures at the beginning of the video, because usually they work worse. They increase CPI, because people might drop your video when they see a failure, uh, thinking that they already saw the whole sequence about the game, the whole presentation of your game. So there's usually a drop in percentage of people who are watching your video after a failure. So you might want to try it at the end of the video. But in some cases, fails also work. Unexpected fails also work at the in the middle of the video. So uh, a short summary: with our approach, we had a huge success in terms of improvements, and we now believe that games with good in-game metrics have way more potential, even when they have a CPI above traditional benchmarks. This is actually a market trend. We see more games with huge high in-game metrics being published on the market, even despite the high CPI, even despite that CPI might be closer to $1 in some cases. And so we believe that in-game metrics are becoming more and more important over the time on the market, and we don't think we are not considering CPI now as much of a problem as we used to. So if you have a game with good in-game metrics, and by good I mean high retention rates like 45, 50, 55% retention day one, this might be a good start, even despite the fact that you have a good CPI. We have a bad CPI. So if you do have games where you believe CPI might be dropped, don't hesitate to reach to us. We'll provide our assistance, and we'll do our best to help you decrease your CPI of your game. And I guess that's it. Um Test with us on our website, or reach out to us on Telegram. Join our review chat on Telegram, HC Reviews, and see you on the next Hyper Casual conference.